We'll be joined 888-898-2525. We'll get to your phone calls here. I know I lie a lot about that, but we will get to your phone calls here momentarily. Go ahead and jump on the board early. So, I was kind of feeling Clemson yesterday, but I ain't feeling it so much today. Tiger Illustrated, Larry Williams, I guess, wrote the story. Tiger's got more injuries. According to Tiger Illustrated, Marcus Tate, starting left guard, is out. Could be out for the rest of the season. Knee injury suffered in practice. And there are others who are walking wounded who may or may not play. Colin Sadler, the starting left tackle, would be one of those. Brown, the wide receiver, would be another, injured and may or may not play. They don't have confirmation on that. They did have confirmation on Tate. So the guard situation has become an area of concern, left tackle, an area of concern. And it concerns me as far as can Clemson beat Notre Dame? So we'll talk about that tonight. Chris Bergen joining us from the Berge Palace, 888-898-2525. So injuries now really starting to become a factor in the upstate for Clemson, Chris, as we head down the stretch.
Yeah, surprising. Well, we knew Will Shipley was going to be probably out for Saturday, judging by what Dabo had to say last night. He's still in protocol, and that's a situation where it has to, I think it's a maximum or minimum rather of 5 days. So you don't know when he starts not having symptoms. So I would imagine they're going to be without Will Shipley now with some of the other injury news coming out here. Even healthy, they were going to have a challenge taking on a Notre Dame team that's pretty good at forcing turnovers and a team that just ran all over them last year. Now, different squad, but still, nonetheless, just ran all over Clemson, almost 270 yards rushing, if memory serves, against the Tigers last year. So I didn't really feel good about that game from a Clemson perspective going in. Now you add the injuries on top of that, and they're starting to run into a similar problem that South Carolina has. How many healthy bodies can you run out there on Saturday?
Absolutely. Here's a note that I ran across today and doing a little bit of homework. Did you realize, of course, the Gamecocks, it is hard to believe, they've only where you can give us one of your I don't understand. No, how do you usually put it? What's your pet phrase when you don't like something?
You're stupid? I'm not sure.
Well, stand by. You'll come up with it. Oh, neutral site games. What do you always say?
Yes. They are a bane of my existence. It should never happen in college athletics. So I don't like them at all.
Well,
so take any of those.
The Gamecocks have only played 3 home games. You know, hard to believe. Right. Here it is, 1st November, but they've only played 3 home games. And 2 of those were SEC and 1 a high-level FCS opponent. In those 3 games, Spencer Rattler has had a total of 11 incompletions. He is completing 86% of his passes, 315 yards per game, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, 11 incompletions. So if you're a Gamecock fan and you're going to be home for the month of November, you got a chance if they can get the receivers healthy. Now, the emergence of Nick Harbor certainly helps. Juice Wells and Beamer's having his call-in show tonight, and I'm assuming he's going to update injuries right off the top, and we'll tell you what he says as soon as we see something. But, you know, Juice Wells, can you get by another week without Juice Wells? Well, you need Juice Wells against Jacksonville State. But if you can get by another week without Juice Wells, and then maybe even Vanderbilt, but maybe you don't want to mess around with Vanderbilt. But you bring him back at the least for the last 2 games, and then you've got Juice Wells, you've got Xavier Legette, you've got an emerging Nick Harbor. All of a sudden, that's a pretty good trio for Spencer Rattler to be able to find. And I am waiting for them. I know they've had a few moderately long passes to Harbor, but I'm really waiting for him to have a chance to cut loose that speed. There's got to be a point where you just let him outrun everybody and go deep. They really haven't done that with him yet, and I wonder when that's going to happen.
When he had the 40-yard reception along the Gamecock sideline against Florida, didn't Rattler underthrow him? I'm wondering if Rattler can, and not to question Spencer's arm, but I wonder if he can keep up with Harbor's speed, because if memory serves, he had to turn around and sort of box out the defender like he was playing basketball to leap up and make that catch, because I think it was a little bit underthrown. But I'm like you, let's see what kind of how anybody can cover that, 10 point, whatever it is, 100-meter dash speed on a football field. I think it'd be awfully difficult. And if you're going to unleash him, you would think you'd have an opportunity or two against the secondary that maybe not be quite as fast as SEC speed in Jacksonville State this weekend.
Yeah, I'm talking about, and I hear what you're saying. That was kind of like a comeback route. I'm talking about just a straight fly route or a deep post pattern where you just let him run down the field as fast as he can, and you throw it as far as you can, and you can see if he can run up under it. Okay, a little bit of news out of South Carolina here from the Beamer Show, stuff being retweeted. Trey Knox is questionable for this game against Jacksonville State, per Shane Beamer. Case and Henry, Vershawn Lee are expected to play, so that's good for the offensive line. So some good news there, and a little bit of bad news with Trey Knox. Knox has a hamstring. He pulled that in the Texas A&M game. It looked painful when he went down, and obviously he's not over that yet. But if that's all they've got, then that's not so bad. Now, Jacksonville State, they average running a play every 20.4 seconds, second fastest in the country behind USF, of all people. And they run the ball well, an average of 217 yards per game. So you got to respect the running game if you're the Gamecock defense. You got to respect the running game. Defensively, what's interesting about Jacksonville State, they are a turnover-making machine. They have forced 18 turnovers. They've got 10 different guys who've had an interception this year. So this will be kind of an interesting little challenge for South Carolina, a 7-2 team that's at the FBS level, was at the FCS level. They've won 25 conference championships as an FCS team. They are used to winning there at their level. Now they're stepping up, and you saw them earlier, and Coastal Carolina beat them a couple of touchdowns in Conway. Their only other loss was to Liberty. So they've lost to an undefeated team, and they've lost to a good Coastal Carolina team. Otherwise, they've handled their business.
They played very well, and Rich Rodriguez is a heck of a coach. He's won everywhere he's been. And keep in mind, from this perspective too, Jacksonville State probably looks at Saturday as their bowl game. They're not eligible to play for the postseason. So, and this, I think, is their only Power 5 matchup this year. So, they're throwing everything into Saturday, because if they could put the other Gamecocks as a feather in their cap, regardless of what happens for them the rest of the season, it would be a tremendous year for them. So, they're going to dial up everything possible to throw at USC on Saturday.
All right, here's a little bit more on the Gamecocks. This is from Hale McGranahan from the Big Spur. And Case and Henry, Vershawn Lee will play. Babalade and Baugh are good, Beamer said. Marion Brown is back. He will play.
That'll be help too.
Yes, and not quite ready to say on Trey Knox is out. He is questionable now. That's according to Beamer. Okay, so you're up to date there. So really, Clemson dealing with the more serious news today from an injury standpoint. Again, Tiger Illustrated with the report this afternoon about some injury issues at Clemson on the offensive line now, with Marcus Tate, according to their report, being out for this game and perhaps the rest of the season. So now you're looking at Clemson's depth chart, and they've already moved the left tackle over to right guard. And if Colin Sadler is not able to go, as Tiger Illustrated hinted at, because of injuries, now you're talking about who's going to play out there. Is it going to be Dietrich Pennington? You got to play Harris Sewell out there. Tate and Mays are out, and Parks is out. Sadler could be out. Miller's good at right tackle. Putnam is good at center. You may have to work in some more. I'm not exactly sure who they would turn to after that. Pennington and Sewell, I guess. Now you could take Lee and move him back to left tackle, which is where he's played. And then you could take, I think Sewell's played some guard, hasn't he? And Pennington, I think, has played some guard. So maybe between one of those two, they could play that other guard position. So I tell you what, Coach Austin there, the offensive line coach, got his hands full trying to figure out who to throw out there against Notre Dame. So this is really changing my opinion now really changing my opinion on this game. I was thinking maybe I was caught up in the emotion yesterday, in Sweeney's emotion of being so angry after his call-in show Monday night and then, going on what he said on Tuesday. Maybe I was thinking, okay, he's rallying the troops. But if you don't have the troops to rally,
exactly,
if you don't have the Jimmies and the Joes, now defensively, we'll see. They were without a couple of guys last week. Of course, Clemson won't confirm anything until 90 minutes before kickoff on Saturday, so we won't know for sure. But Maskell was out, I think, last week. Pat, was it Maskell who was out? They got Xavier Thomas back last week, and I think Maskell was one of the defensive players out last week. So we'll see if he's going to be
Maskell
back.
He did not even make the trip up to NC State.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm thinking on it. I'm still thinking on it. Clemson is a slight underdog at home. By the way, South Carolina, a 16-point favorite. I went back and looked. The Gamecocks against FBS teams aren't normally double-digit favorites at home or a big favorite like that. The last time they were this big of a favorite was 2021 when they were favored by 19 against Vanderbilt. Otherwise, been pretty much single-digit favorites at home against FBS teams. So, of course, this is an FCS team
that's a game they
just
lost.
A year removed from being an FBS team just a year removed from being an FCS team.
I was trying to remember when I remember looking back when Carolina was a home favorite against like Mississippi State, I think it was. That doesn't happen very often here recently, as you pointed out. And I want to say one of those games that they were big favorites at home, I'm not sure if it was a Vanderbilt game or not, they actually lost as a big home favorite. So, 16 points. I think that's if Carolina comes out of there with a 17, 20-point win on Saturday, that would be an impressive showing, I think, for them.
Well, I think, again, being at home, and, we'll see what kind of home crowd they get for this game for a noon kickoff. I imagine it will be – they haven't announced a sellout, I don't think, for this. Week by week, they've announced sellout after sellout after sellout.
Right.
So, if they pull in 65,000 for this, that'll still be a good crowd for a noon kickoff against a team, and you're riding a 4-game losing streak. So we'll see how the Gamecocks respond. All right, the phone number, 888-898-2525. Pat, why don't we go ahead and hit up the phone calls, see what's out there, see who's out there, see who's loving us, see who's hating us. It's a big day, the new Beatles single released today. I haven't heard it yet. Have you heard it? Anybody heard it yet? Pat, you hear it? Did you hear it yet?
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
I heard just
a
little bit of it. I actually heard a little bit of it on a news talk station, and I thought had they changed formats. So I didn't realize until after I flipped back that that's what it was. Now I've got to go back and listen now that I know it's an old John Lennon song that he wrote.
Yoko Ono turned over to the Beatles back in the 90s a bunch of recordings of John Lennon as he was working on various songs that he recorded into a tape recorder. They didn't have the technology until 2021 to be able to go in and separate his voice and separate musical parts so they could piece something together. And what they did was they took that song and Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr added their bits to it, and they had George Harrison as well, and they put it all together into a song that John Lennon had written and had demoed on a tape. And now it's been released as they're calling it the last Beatle song.
Now, wait, is this the song I'm reading now here called Now and Then?
Yes.
Because this is showing, if I'm reading right, that artificial intelligence was used. So are we really going to credit that as an actual Beatles song if AI was used to manipulate it?
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, I've read the New York Times, the New York Post, the Daily News. What are you reading?
Right here, this is Wall Street Journal.
Yeah. They didn't say anything about any artificial intelligence being used. They were talking about Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr going into the studio and cutting.
That's exciting, though. Either way,
we'll
figure it out. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, their own tracks and them piecing it together. All right, way to rain on the parade, Pat. Thank you for
just trying not to get fans out there excited if it's fake information.
Oh my goodness! All right, where are we going first?
I agree with Pat. I'd be disappointed if AI was a part
I
of that.
agree. Yeah. What you got? What you got on the line?
Well, first we're going to be sticking here locally with fan favorite, crowd favorite, show favorite, Gamecock Larry over in Swansea. Wonder what he's up to tonight.
Yeah, Gamecock Larry, welcome in. How are you?
Dabo, Tyler from Spartanburg. We paying you $1 million a game. Are you going to return us $4 million for them full losses? Or are you just going to put it in your bank account and keep it? Now let's talk about that. My motocross racing team. My main man, Jace, is going to Spencer this weekend, and he got a chance to bring it all home and bring us a good chunk of money, I hope. Now, let's talk about this game with this Jacksonville Gamecocks. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to give you the score. I'm not going to give you my prediction. But Gamecock Larry has never, I don't think, sometimes right, most of the time wrong. But this time I'm going to tell you, we are coming out to play football. And we going to play beamer ball, rattler ball, all kind of ball. And we going to win this game by a wide margin. And I hate to hear about them Clemson injuries, but that's all we've had this year. We only got 2 wins. I didn't believe that. But remember, the old Gamecock Larry told you all when Beamer was hired, 2024, we'd be in the Final Four. So next year is just 24. So we will be in the top echelon. And that's including Texas and Oklahoma, transfer portal, NIL money and all that. We got some money. We just going to have to get these people to put it in the game, put it in the pot. Let's go. Gamecocks. I almost told you the score, but I ain't going to tell you till tomorrow. But Gamecock fans, you're going to be happy Saturday about 4 o'clock. You dance it all out. And I don't forget the name of that street again. Really going to be
George Rogers Boulevard, Bluff Road.
George Rogers Boulevard. You're going to be happy. And Bill, tell Dabo, your Tyler from Spartanburg, need an answer about that $4 million. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
All right.
Go Gamecocks.
Okay, Larry. Thank you very much.
I'm telling you, Phil, I think they ought to let Tyler from Spartanburg lead them down the hill on Saturday.
You think?
He's been the best thing that happened to them this week, if possible. I mean, it's taken totally all the focus off of the game this weekend and probably relaxed that team a little bit and fired up the fan base.
They got some T-shirts ready for them. Ain't exactly pretty, but they got some T-shirts ready. All right, let's continue with the calls. The phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk as we go to Andy in Columbia. Andy, welcome in. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm just peachy keen. I woke up this morning, so what can I complain about?
Not a thing.
Good point.
Other than South Carolina baseball, but we won't go down that trail today.
No, there's no reason to. They're undefeated at this point.
Right. First off, the Beatles song. It was one song that was left on a cassette with Paul's name on it, that for Paul McCartney. Okay, and what they did was they electronic. You know, having to have all new things with electronics. The piano sounded on it, so they pulled the piano off of that. George Harrison actually played part of the song, but he passed away before it was complete. So they found somebody who was able to play a slide kind of like George. So they brought him in to finish it up with Ringo and Paul McCartney.
Nice.
Okay.
So is it real? Is it real or is it?
It's real. It's real. Okay. And Paul said that the reason why he allowed them to do that electronic work was because he knew that John was fine with with new age type of things, and the how electronics has progressed, the progression of things. So he felt that it was all right to do the song. So that's the story.
Hey, the more John Lennon we can find, the better. I can listen to his music all the time. I've got no problem with that.
I agree 100%.
I should go dig up my Beatles wig from 1964.
Yeah, the White Album there too.
I had them all. I'm serious. I had them all.
Yeah. Number nine.
I mean, if they had it, if they made it, I had it. Yeah.
Question for you. You went through the ACC scheduling for the next 59 years or whatever.
Yeah.
What I found what I didn't understand, and maybe you can kind of bring in, how come, I know Notre Dame's not in the conference, but I thought Notre Dame was scheduled to play a certain amount of ACC games every year. How come they weren't included in any of that scheduling that you went through the other night?
Because they don't count as, my guess is they don't count as conference games. Those are just the conference games. And the ACC schedule with Notre Dame is, let's see here.
They played 6 ACC schools this year, or are scheduled to.
Yeah, they are scheduled through 2025 as of the release that they sent out when this thing all started with Notre Dame. So the Notre Dame scheduling with the ACC that I have runs through 2025. And so unless there's something new with Notre Dame that I haven't seen, I've got it through 25. But my guess is what you saw was because it was strictly conference games that they were putting together for the next, how many years was it? 7 through 2030.
Well, my theory behind that is if they didn't add them through 2030, I would think that Notre Dame might be looking to get into the Big Ten after 2025, after their commitment to the ACC. So
I don't know. I mean, why would they ever get in a league if they've got everything that they need right now? Why would they ever want to get in a league?
Because once this new format comes out and the SEC and the Big Ten become the two major conferences and the ACC dissolves into nothing, they'll become looking for a place to call home. And I believe it'll be the Big Ten and not the SEC. That's just my theory.
Well, it would make sense, but nothing makes sense in geography when it comes to leagues. But I think the people who run Notre Dame have been adamant about staying independent. They've got their own television deal that they don't have to share with anybody. And as long as the rules for the playoffs are written so that they can get in, why would you change anything? Why would you change anything?
One other question that you might be able to answer for me, Mr. Corn. Are they going to do what Bob Knight wanted and bury him upside down so everybody can...
Well, I haven't read his obituary, and they haven't consulted with us on their burial plans, but they should. I mean, that's what he asked,
right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, can you take somebody's speech to the masses and say this is what the man wanted? No telling what he put in his will. If he put it in his will, I guess you got to do it, right?
That should be on the man's headstone.
Mm-hmm. That was a great
moment. I don't know what anybody says about Bob Knight. He was one great coach, and there's one thing that he always did. He always graduated his players.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't take any BS, and he was very, very big at helping others that he didn't play up to. I mean, there's a lot of great things that he did nobody knows, that people don't know about. And I can't remember the player's name who broke his neck that played for him.
Yeah.
Coach
something
Knight,
Turner. Wasn't it something Turner?
Yeah.
It was something Turner.
Knight.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much. Ben Portnoy is coming up. Ben's an Indiana grad. He wasn't there during the Knight era, but he certainly has a feel for him. We'll talk about that coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. Another chilly evening, mostly clear skies, a low of 31. Now tomorrow, we start to see temperatures rise, mostly sunny skies, high of 67. And for the weekend, we're warmer with high temperatures in the low to mid 70s, having mostly sunny skies for Saturday, mix of sun and clouds for Sunday. And don't forget, you turn back the clock Saturday night. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the House has approved a nearly $14.5 billion in military aid package for Israel, but without humanitarian assistance for Gaza. The approach by new Speaker Mike Johnson poses a direct challenge to Democrats and President Joe Biden. Biden has said he'd veto the bill. Next steps are uncertain since Democrats say the GOP bill will go nowhere in the Senate. Johnson's approach requires the emergency aid be offset with spending cuts at the IRS to go after tax dodgers. Biden instead wants nearly $106 billion for Israel, Ukraine, Gaza, U.S. border security, and other needs. The House also approved a resolution condemning support on college campuses for terrorist groups. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 564 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Hi, this is Chris Neely, Superintendent of the South Carolina Public Charter School District. I hope you'll join Kevin and me each Tuesday afternoon. We'll bring you Kids First, where we talk about educational issues and what we're doing to teach kids the right way. It's Kids First, Tuesday at 5:30 right here on 100.7 The Point.
Hey y'all, I'm Tim Miles, the Mayor of West Columbia. I'm asking you to please vote for me for re-election on November the 7th so we can keep our city moving forward. I love everything about our city, the people, the places, and its history. As we have grown, we've been able to maintain our small town feel and keep our low cost, great essential services, and top-notch police and fire departments. Let's keep it going and keep our city moving forward so we can keep the things that have made our city great.
It's November, the time to knock out that Christmas wish list. No better place to start than at Shooter's Choice on Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. Come and experience their new showroom. It's massive, it's awesome. And now, shopping is an easier experience for you. The selection of new firearms and accessories for your wish list, well, it couldn't be any better than it is right now at Shooter's Choice. Hey, you're not sure which hunting or home defense firearm is the best for you this holiday season? Let the experts at Shooter's Choice guide you to your best decision. See, their staff is hands-on with experience. They know guns, they hunt, they shoot. They can answer your questions on personal defense weapons, on rifles, pistols, and even shotguns. Plus, November brings you great promotions. Henry rifles, CVA rifles, Bergara rifles. They'll all be visiting to spice up your seasonal wish list with unbelievable discounts. Check out Shooter's Choice on Facebook for daily deals. And if you're undecided, then gift cards are perfect. They make great stocking stuffers. And listen, there's plenty of ammo in stock right now. And trust me, another ammo shortage is right around the corner. You want to get that taken care of. For your Christmas wish list, make your first choice. Your best choice. Make it Shooter's Choice.
Fran Halloran here. Now listen closely to what I'm about to say. I'm a business owner, and many of you listening right now, you're business owners as well. The first rule in owning a business is this: don't waste money. I see business owners waste their marketing dollars all the time. Not me. I figured out a long time ago that spending my marketing dollars at the Point was not only intentional, but extremely profitable as well. If you're a small business owner, you owe it to yourself to sit down with Kevin Cohen and ask him to create a custom marketing plan for your business. He's looking for folks just like you who believe in local to partner with him in 2023 and beyond. Trust me when I tell you, partnering with The Point works. You will see results and your marketing budget will no longer be wasted. Give Kev a call at 803-563-8558 and tell him the Money Coach sent you.
Hi, this is Joel Lurie. I'm the host of Health Matters every Monday morning from 9 to 10 right here on 100.7 The Point. Join me as we talk about issues impacting your health and our community. It's Health Matters every Monday at 9 a.m. right here on The Point.
Big Thursday night here on Sports Talk, on the Sports Talk Media Network across South Carolina. So happy to have you with us wherever you're dialed into us on one of our stations around the state, or perhaps you're getting us off our feed through the Chief Sports app. Don't forget, if you don't have that, you're listening to us, but you might be somewhere outside the market area of one of our affiliates. You want to find us in another state, maybe another country, maybe on another planet. Take the Chief Sports app with you, CHIEF Sports app. It's a free download from your Apple Store and your Play Store. So that's a great way to get us and a variety of other terrific sports talk shows and podcasts and other things that they are adding to that app. Chief Sports app. Download it. It's free. Great way to connect with us wherever you happen to be.
Phil, we've got some interesting news before we get to Ben.
Yeah.
I just saw this tweet come across. Wake Forest and Duke are playing tonight, ACC football. Evidently, the Wake Forest team buses had just arrived within the last 15, 20 minutes. It took them an hour and 20 minutes to get to Durham from Raleigh because a protest calling for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas had stopped traffic on North Carolina 147 in Durham. So
wow.
You wonder how ready Wake Forest is going to be to play, and if they even start at 7:30 as scheduled, if they might bump that game back a little bit.
And added to that, Pete Themmel had a story this afternoon about the quarterback situation there at Duke, because Riley Leonard, has been banged up, and he reported that Riley Leonard, their fine quarterback, is out. It'll be Grayson Loftus, the former Gaffney quarterback, to start for Duke tonight. And I think Grayson, if my memory serves me right, I want to say he played at Blue Ridge and then transferred to Gaffney. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right on that. And he's going to be the starter for Duke tonight against that Wake Forest team that will be bus lagged, I guess.
Wow.
Well, I know that traffic up there this time of day, it doesn't take much to back it up. I-40 and I-85, I guess they would come 85 to 40 and cut across. And, boy, traffic can get bad. And if you got protests going on, that just adds to the headache.
Well, and you would assume, too, on top of that, this is not just a normal traffic jam because they would be in a police escorts situation, you would think, coming from Raleigh over to Durham. And so that the traffic must have just been stopped, period. Nobody could get through. So I can only begin to imagine how big a mess that was.
All right, let's welcome in Ben Portnoy to Sports Talk with the Sports Business Journal. Another edition of Port Authority here on Sports Talk. Good evening, sir. How are you?
What's going on, guys? Appreciate you having me.
Good to have you with us. Okay, well, big story last night, the passing of Bobby Knight. And I mentioned you're an Indiana grad. I don't think your paths crossed during your time there at Indiana. He was, I would imagine, well before you. But certainly the legacy of Bobby Knight lived on for every class that came through there.
Yeah, I think Bob Knight, and I think you've seen it in some of the tributes, some of the things that have been written in the last 24 hours about him, I think is a really complicated figure, right? I don't think there's a lot of us that would argue that Bobby had, a lot of flaws and a lot of issues and certainly some things that folks that wouldn't fly today. But I do think that it's also hard to talk about the history of college basketball and especially Indiana basketball without talking about Bobby Knight. And I think that, you saw that in sort of the outpouring of tributes, throughout the country and from people all throughout college basketball and the basketball world. So definitely a sad time. And, Bobby's been in sort of poor health for a little bit now, but he, I think that, there's a lot of folks in Bloomington and beyond that are talking about Bobby and some of the things that he did during his time as head coach at Indiana and elsewhere.
All right, let's turn our attention to college football. And I guess big story nationally is what's going on up there at Michigan. That story continues to grow by the day. As a reporter, as you have watched this story develop through the various media outlets, first of all, what's your take on the way this story has developed from a reporting standpoint? And then where do you think it's going to end? I mean, do you think we're going to see some significant penalties on Michigan if this is all proven out to be true? I saw a story today where the coaches, other coaches in the Big Ten, they want something done to Michigan over this.
Yeah, I think it's a really fascinating dynamic for, I think, Tony Petitti in particular is the commissioner, right? It's sort of there's sort of no good answer here, right? Because I think that you've got a new commissioner, you've got a huge amount of coaches who are really ticked off about this whole thing, and certainly administrators as well. You combine that with sort of the story continues to get more insane by the day, right? You've seen folks have floated those pictures of what appears to be as possibly, Connor Stallions at a Central Michigan game, and all of these things. And again, I think the Big Ten's hamstrung a little bit in the sense of, are you going to go and punish Michigan and say, hey, this is probably our best chance at a national champion this year, if not Ohio State. The networks certainly probably aren't thrilled about the idea of that as well. And are you going to ban them from the postseason, or do you kind of sit back, let the NCAA do something, and sort of run the risk of irritating the rest of your membership as well? So it's sort of like danged if you do, danged if you don't. And I think that it leaves the Big Ten in a really interesting spot because, again, the Big Ten doesn't technically have to do anything. And the Big Ten, I think an important piece of this, doesn't have any kind of investigative arm, right? Like, that's what the NCAA, at least in theory, is for. And because of that, the Big Ten, on some level, can sit back on its laurels and wait for the NCAA to make a decision. But we all know how sort of slowly that the NCAA operates on these kinds of things. And I have my doubts about how quickly they are going to act, despite reports that the NCAA investigators. So I think I still fall in the category of, at first, I think my first reaction was that the Big Ten's going to have to do something about this, but I'm still in a little bit wait and see, and I'll believe it when I see it kind of territory right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, in your wheelhouse now, working with the Sports Business Journal, this would actually be a business decision, wouldn't it, as you have alluded to? If the Big Ten does penalize Michigan to the standpoint that they suspend Coach Harbaugh again, they fine them, they penalize games. I mean, it could considerably cripple them in terms of the chances to get into the college football playoff and make a ton of money off of that. So to me, from a business perspective, it makes zero sense. But if you're another coach in the league, from a competitive balance nature, don't you have to see your league do something, or you start to wonder? And I guess to turn that around too, if you're one of the coaches that are complaining, don't you need to make sure that your house is in order? So if Michigan says, all right, that's fine, you're going to get us, we're going to take everybody else down, because we know Michigan State and Ohio State and Purdue and everybody else is doing the same thing. They were just better at it in terms of cheating than we were.
Yeah, I think, there's certainly a lot of money at stake. And I think, as you guys have seen and others and talked to and all that, there's been reports about Jim Harbaugh's contract situation. He kind of addressed it the other day about where that's at, and sort of that they were nearing an agreement, but it kind of got put on hold when this all broke. And I think that that's something to monitor here, because if Michigan is in a position where, certainly they want to offer Harbaugh a massive contract, make him one of the highest paid coaches in the sport, and, if you're going just off on-field stuff, certainly makes sense. Now, if he's going to be penalized by the NCAA, if he is going to be given, I don't know that any of this will happen, but, is he going to get a show cause? Is he going to be suspended? What do those things mean as far as his contract negotiations go? I think that's something that needs to be monitored, and I think is still going to be a big deal moving forward, and I think is something that folks should pay attention to. The flip side of that, like you said, is, does this turn into a he said, she said? Does Michigan start turning people in for other things, et cetera? You get into one of those. I don't know. I mean, I think it's hard to say, but I do think that, again, it's a really tricky spot for the Big Ten, because in a perfect world, the NCAA would make a decision on this, and everyone kind of moves on from there. And I think that, given the way that those investigations go, and we've seen for years now, right, like, that's not something that moves super quickly. And, like, at best, we're probably talking about, next summer, a decision actually being made on that front. So I think that I have my doubts about how much the NCAA is going to be able to influence something. And again, I think it puts the Big Ten in a tricky spot where you've got a lot of people asking for them to do something, but I'm not sure how much they can do or want to do.
Ben Portnoy from the Sports Business Journal with us here, the Port Authority, every Thursday here on Sports Talk. You did a little story on the Big East, the revival of Big East basketball, as you put it, in a world of football. And boy, I tell you what, Big East basketball back in the day was a must-see, a must-see. and they are trying to rebound in that area. What did you take away from your investigation and your story on that as you referred to it as the death, rebirth, and revival of the Big East?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, and there's been a lot written about the Big East, and I think that's certainly there's been a lot written about the football side of the Big East, right? The AAC breaking off, the league falling apart, all of that. But I don't think there's been a lot written, frankly, in the last few years of kind of the progress since then. And I think that there's a really interesting dynamic of the way that the Big East operated at that time that, not that they were necessarily allowed to pick up the pieces, but I do think that the Big East was in a really precarious spot, and I think has really leaned into this basketball product. And I think it's a really interesting dynamic when you look at college sports at large, right? Like most of the things that we talk about in college sports and college sports circles is football. And I think that's because a lot of the realignment is driven by college football. A lot of the money is driven by college football, all of those things, right? Like frankly, a lot of the chaos is driven by college football. But the Big East has taken this stance where they've kind of leaned into the fact that saying, hey, the traditional Big East schools at least, and the teams that they've added since and through this whole progression, we're going to lean into this basketball thing, and this is going to be our thing, and we're going to be better because of it. And I think that, in talking to folks, whether that was Val Ackerman, the commissioner of the Big East, and others around the league, I think that that's the thing that I kept coming back to was that you kind of have everyone on the same page. Everyone feels that, it's in their best interest to lean into basketball and kind of go with what the identity of this league has really been since, frankly, its inception for the most part. And kind of lean into that, and it's been really successful. I mean, look, Villanova's won a couple of national championships. UConn's the reigning national champion. You've had, a number of Big East teams make runs. You're a close game away from having Creighton in the Final Four a year ago. It's been really successful, and again, I think it's a really fascinating dynamic where you have this basketball-centered league that kind of rose out of the ashes under crazy circumstances to really thrive in where they are right now. And I think it's a super unique situation in college sports as it exists right now, and I think it's something that at least I felt was really, really interesting in the reporting process.
Absolutely. What are you working on for the coming week or the coming weeks?
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of a fun story about a certain national championship winning coach from LSU, and a little bit of what he's been up to in the last few months and a little marketing campaign he was involved in recently. So that'll be a fun one that comes out later next week, and looking forward to getting that out to some folks. But that's one that's coming down the pipe and heading up to Big Ten territory here in about a week and a half. So I'll have plenty coming down the pipe, and really looking forward to getting some good stuff out there for you guys.
Sounds good. Look forward to seeing it and reading it, and we thank you. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Appreciate it, Ben.
Awesome. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. From the Sports Business Journal, our buddy Ben Portnoy, the Port Authority, writing about some very interesting stuff, stuff we don't really get a chance to talk about on a regular basis here on the show. So it's kind of good to divert our conversation sometimes away to other things that we just don't have a chance to focus on.
The Big East read, I think, will be well worth your time. I saw he tweeted that out a little bit earlier, and considering that we're in an era where major college football drives the bus, for a league to be as solid as it is with college basketball, I think it's been outstanding for them.
Excellent point. Hit the break here on Sports Talk. Be back in just a moment.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with the family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
This year's Carolina and Clemson Jackpot $5 scratch-off tickets give you a chance to win up to $200,000, whether you're a Gamecock or a Tiger. Plus, you can enter your tickets into the Second Chance promotion for a chance to step on the field or the court to win $50,000, $75,000, or even $100,000. In this state, winning the Palmetto Series does matter that much, so get your tickets today. See SCEducationLottery.com for odds and details. Winning and non-winning tickets can be entered. Second Chance odds depend on number of entries received.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
George Bryant here for Tsunami Bar Sports, and some say the fun is in the winning. I say the fun is in the training. And Tsunami Robbie, what do you say?
George, we all know you get more done when you're having fun. This technology is different. It's engaging, but it's also a lot of fun to use.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut. Be sure to click on the digital ad on SportsTalkSC.com and get 5% off any Tsunami Bar order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
Farm Bureau Insurance's agricultural roots and ties to South Carolina farmers have shaped the company's culture and work ethic, providing a unique customer experience. Customers are treated like people, not policies. Now, while other insurance companies may have a one-size-fits-all approach to handling customers, we believe you need to be valued and treated right. Our claims professionals work until the job is done, and our agents still believe in the commitment that comes with a handshake. Call Buddy Bridges in Clinton and Lawrence at 864-923-2174 for all of your auto, home, and life insurance needs.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
High school football playoff action begins tonight. Got a game up in Rock Hill in 5A. Rock Hill hosting Spartanburg. So off and run.
That first round game?
Rock Hill, yeah. Yeah. Spartan High kind of struggled there, I think, down the stretch.
Yeah.
And Rock Hill is, they share a stadium with Northwestern. So I'm imagining that they're having to play tonight as the lower seeded team. They're having to play tonight. Northwestern gets the rights to the stadium for Friday night. That'd be my guess, my understanding. All right, back to the phones we go. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. And, Pat, where are we going to go next? Go ahead and lead us into our next call. No call? Okay. So the call has not been substantiated, so we'll hold off on that. We'll have recruiting coming up for you in just a little bit. Oh, you know what we haven't done? I haven't mentioned my poll question of the week. Poll question of the week is
and then you need to make an apology.
For?
To Michi Johnson. I'll explain after you get done with your poll question.
All right, poll question of the week. The football season moves into November with Gamecocks and Clemson still not bowl eligible. Each has 4 games to play. What will be the verdict for the bowl season? Both make it. Clemson in, USC out. USC in, Clemson out. Both miss it. What do you think?
Wow. I don't know, Phil. I don't know that means Clemson's still got to win 2 more. And I don't think they win Saturday.
Yeah.
And, how good's North Carolina now? I thought North Carolina was going to be a tremendous challenge for them, and they've lost 2 games that they had no business losing. So I don't know if anybody outside of Florida State in the ACC is any good. So I don't know. And I just can't see South Carolina right now with the way they're playing, the injuries and everything that's affected them running the table in November. As good as they have been at home, I can't see them winning the Final Four to get bowl eligible. So I don't think Carolina goes.
Mhm.
I just don't know that Clemson joins them.
Mhm.
Boy, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Go into the season.
That selection is not available.
What's that?
The
I
selection
don't
of
know.
I don't know. In South Carolina, maybe. In Clemson, I don't know.
If I had to pick one now, I would say Clemson and USC out.
Clemson and USC out. Well, you'd be among the majority. What do you think, Pat? Out of 499, we need one more vote to hit 500. So go ahead. What you got?
Same as Chris. Clemson in, USC out. I don't see them winning their remaining games. I just don't. Now, I do not think Clemson may get a big bowl by any stretch of the imagination, but I do see them going bowling, and unfortunately, the Gamecocks sitting this one out. Unless they get one of those. Now, could they qualify
APR
with
bowl
5?
games?
Yeah, could they qualify with 5 wins?
But this is not based on that. This is based on legitimately earning your 6th win.
Then no.
We're not playing the 5-7 game here.
I'm sorry. 6-6 teams shouldn't go to bowl games either, but I know that's where we are now. But
Totally agree.
Now, I'm going to go with, only 8.8% say both are going to make it. 59.9 say Clemson in, USC out. 11% say USC in, Clemson out. 20.2% say both miss it. That's a pretty fair number of people who think both will miss it. But if I say both make it, that means I'm picking South Carolina to beat Clemson.
Yep.
I'm not sure I'm ready to go there yet. But you know what? This Clemson team, I don't know. Just the erratic nature of their play and their inability to close drives and score from the red zone and protect the football. Now these injuries, I wonder how much the wear and tear of all the criticism takes on them as well. I mean, I know they all say they close out the noise and they don't pay any attention to it, but they're humans. And human nature says it gets under your skin and it bothers you. So,
See
you know
Dabo
what?
Sweeney from Monday.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go with. So you are what? You're Clemson in, USC out.
Clemson
and
in,
you're
USC
Clemson
out.
in, USC out. If I say it, I mean, when I say it, I have to stick to it.
Go ahead.
Both make it.
There we go.
Both make it. That means I'm picking the Gamecocks to beat Clemson. And you know what? I probably am gonna. I picked them to win last year.
Yep, and almost hit the score right on the head too.
And I think Rattler is in Columbia. They're just a different team. They just play differently on offense. And if you're South Carolina defensively, and who knows if Shipley's going to be out a while? Is he done for the year? Is just going to be out this game? Is he going to miss this game? Maybe he's going to play this game.
Sure.
Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. That was
I had told you before the season began.
Yeah.
That Coastal Carolina would be the first of the FBS teams to get bowl eligible.
Yeah.
Would you have bought that?
I would have.
Because if CCU wins this weekend, they'll be bowl eligible. That'll be their 6th win.
It's not going to shock me because, I'm thinking a healthy Grayson McCall and everything else they had going with them. And they seem to have found their stride.
They're playing some good football here the last month or so.
Yeah. So there you go. Now I got to come up with a score down the road, but I got 3 weeks to make that up. But I guess you have to hold me to it now when we come down to decision time on South Carolina Clemson on November 25th. All right, going to hit the break here on Sports Talk. When we come back, Mike Morgan will join us. Morgan on the move. Will and the thrill. Bottom of the next hour, plus some recruiting. And we'll try and sneak in a few more phone calls as well. So another busy hour of Sports Talk is coming up right around the corner here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Be back in just a moment.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DM.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. The House has passed a bill funding $14.5 billion for Israel, but has no humanitarian aid for Gaza and also cuts funding for the IRS. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Israel funding bill the House passed has no chance of becoming law.
I'm glad that the president issued a veto threat over this stunningly unserious proposal. Unserious at a time of crisis like this from the House GOP leader?
While House Speaker Mike Johnson vows to push for Ukraine funding in a standalone bill that would pair the assistance with money for border security.
Ukraine will come in short order. It will come next. And you've heard me say that we want to pair border security with Ukraine because I think we can get bipartisan agreement on both of those matters.
President Biden instead wants nearly $106 billion for Israel, Ukraine, Gaza, U.S. border security, and other needs. The Biden administration is calling for brief pauses in airstrikes and fighting in the Israel-Hamas war for humanitarian purposes. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The administration opposes a general ceasefire, but John Kirby with the National Security Council says President Biden supports a humanitarian pause.
What we're talking about are temporary, localized pauses in the fighting to meet a certain goal or goals.
Those goals, he said, are getting humanitarian aid into Gaza and getting people out. Greg Clugston, the White House.
A new government report shows fewer high school students are vaping. About 10% of high school students said they had used electronic cigarettes in the previous month. That's down from 14% from the same survey conducted last year. On Wall Street, the Dow by 564 points. The Nasdaq rose 232. More on these stories at townhall.com.
In a world where financial landscapes can change rapidly, safeguarding your savings and retirement accounts is paramount. Direct Bullion USA is more than just the #1 rated gold bullion dealer in America. We're your trusted partner in navigating the uncertainties of hyperinflation and political upheaval around the world. Direct Bullion USA can provide you with the knowledge and resources to fortify your financial stability and protect what matters most. Call us now at 888-787-GOLD. Precious metals like gold and silver have been a safe haven investment for hundreds of years. Get started when you call Direct Bullion USA at 888-787-4653 and get your free gold investing starter kit today. All it takes is one call to 888-787-GOLD. Take control of your retirement and protect your future with Direct Bullion USA. Call 888-787-4653. That's 888-787-GOLD. Liable.
A major agreement between Israel and several Arab nations is showing signs of unraveling. The latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
The first tangible sign of distress for the Abraham Accords in response to the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas came on Thursday with the recall of Bahrain's ambassador to the Jewish state and the possible cessation of economic ties between the two nations. The moves were revealed in a statement by the Bahrain parliament. Notably absent is confirmation from the foreign ministry. Bahrain was the first of 4 Middle Eastern nations to sign normalization agreements with the State of Israel in 2020. The pacts are being viewed as a barometer of the viability and durability of Israel-Arab peacemaking. The other signatories are the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and Sudan. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. Another chilly evening, mostly clear skies, a low of 31. Now tomorrow, we start to see temperatures rise, mostly sunny skies, 67. For the weekend, we're warmer with high temperatures in the low to mid 70s, having mostly sunny skies for Saturday, mix of sun and clouds for Sunday. And don't forget, you turn back the clock Saturday night. I'm Kevin Cohn with your On Point local weather.
As a kid, you dreamed of being a firefighter one day. Now, the opportunity is yours. Answer the sound of sirens. Live your dream. Become a part of a team, a family. Visit scvolunteerfire.org to find out more.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you with us on a big Thursday. Those of you just joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you with us here on the program. If you're just joining us, big story of the day created by Tiger Illustrated, Larry Williams, this afternoon, reporting that Clemson is dealing with more injuries and on their offensive line. It according to their information, the Tigers are going to be without Marcus Tate, who went down with a knee injury this week, and it could be a season-ending thing. They could get no confirmation from Clemson on that. And also, they have Tyler Brown dealing with an injury, and they also have Colin Sadler dealing with an injury. All those guys could be missing for Notre Dame. Not sure on the latter two, but the first one, Tate, definitely, according to them, they are out, or he is out for the game and possibly out for the season. So that's not good news for Clemson at all. News from South Carolina, from Shane Beamer, a little bit more upbeat on the injury front. Vershawn Lee should be able to go, and Trey Knox is questionable with that hamstring injury. Pretty much everybody else who is able to play, who's been part of the walking wounded, according to Shane Beamer, should be able to go against Jacksonville State on Saturday. Okay, time now for our visit with Mike Morgan. Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk, brought to you by State Farm agent Gary Patterson. For 35 years, Gary has been serving the real estate needs from Lugoff to Lexington, Columbia to Blythewood. Your auto, home, life insurance, and business insurance can all be handled by Gary. When Gary isn't refereeing ACC football games, he is spending countless hours helping South Carolinians with all their insurance needs, making a difference in the community. Go check out GaryPatterson.net today, and Gary will go over the best plans for you and your family. That's GaryPatterson.net.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. No hassles, no all-day runarounds, no ridiculous add-on stickers. At Love Chevy, buying a car is fun. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Find new roads.
Welcome in, Mike Morgan. Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk. Good evening, Mike. How are you? Hello, Mike. How are you, sir?
I am here. Can you hear me?
We got you. Yes, sir. How are you?
Okay.
How are you?
I'm doing well. As I was listening to you intro the big Clemson news, I was waiting for another less than time-sensitive report that Clemson's leaving the ACC and joining the SEC. Wasn't that story like 4 months ago? I'm still waiting on that to be official.
Yeah, it depends on what Tyler wants to do. If Tyler wants them to move, they'll move it.
Hey, I'm going to report, this is breaking news. I'm going to report that sometime in 2024, a hurricane will hit the state of Florida. I've got it first. You mark it down. It's going to happen.
You got to put that under the headline of breaking news. You have to repeat it like every 15 minutes, okay?
Breaking news.
Like the crawl.
I've talked to a source close to Clemson, and they tell me a hurricane's going to hit Florida in 2024. It might be Category 1. It might be Category 5. It might be Jacksonville. It might be Tampa. But somewhere it's going to happen. My inside sources tell me this.
Well, it could be Boca Raton.
It could be on the mean streets of Boca Raton. In all seriousness, where you either carry a knife or a loaded gun, or you go home in a casket. No, that's a terrible statement.
I thought Boca was a nice place. I had lunch there one time.
No, I'm being facetious. The mean streets of Boca that's irony. There's a little bit of irony allowed on Sports Talk.
Little facetious.
But I mean, I'm sure months ago you were reporting all the the guys that were writing articles and putting out tweets that Clemson it's a done deal. I've talked to people. Whatever happened to that story?
Last thing I saw was 2026. Some guy put out it'd be 2026. Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina to the Big Ten. Yeah, that's what he's saying. It's definitely done to be 2026.
Done deal. 2026. They're going to the Big Ten. Okay, I've heard people saying they're going to the SEC. It's done deal.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I don't think the SEC
I'm as
knows
confused
that,
as
but
the next guy, for sure. Let me ask you about the goings-on at Clemson this week and the way Dabo Swinney handled the caller. You've handled call-in shows aplenty with coaches.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a it's a sensitive deal. I mean, on the one hand, you're a coach and you don't want to come across negative and nasty to your fan base. A single caller does not represent your fan base, but you know how it gets blown up. But then again, like Spurrier had to do a couple of times, you do draw a line as a coach where you say enough is enough, and you're going to hear my side of the story.
I actually mentioned you on the Inside the Gamecock show, part of the Chief Network, same network that this fine program is part of.
Fine network.
Fine network if there ever was one. And I said, you know what, guys? Phil Kornblut had one of his funniest moments in the history of his broadcasting career. Because I heard about this. They didn't know it. JC and Jamie didn't hear about this. Did you actually, when Dabo Swinney asked the room, what did you dress him up for Halloween? Did you say Tyler from Spartanburg?
Yes.
That is I've known you for 20 years. That's the funniest thing you've ever.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
I actually think I've had better work. I think Larry Williams had the best line. I mean,
what was his?
Because let me reset what happened. So we're sitting down. Dabo comes walking in, of course, and it's Halloween. Tuesday was Halloween. And so he sits down. He's kind of in a funny mood, and he looks at David Hood. He says, David, what are you going as for Halloween? And David gives him some answer. And then he looks at Larry, who's sitting behind me. And he says, Larry, what you going as? He says, I'm going as a football coach with a broken foot. Shane Beamer. Yeah. Which I thought was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny. And then he looked at me. He didn't call my name. He just looked at me and kind of opened his hands out like, okay, what are you going as? And I said, well, going as what's his name from Spartanburg? I forgot it. Tyler from Spartanburg, because
who I think is a former Marine.
He is 29 years old. Larry Williams interviewed him. But, I mean, it was just in my mind, not to go into a detailed story here. It's not great. It's not science. It's not being scientific here. But I knew going into the press conference that phone call from Monday night was going to be a topic. So the kid's name or the guy's name was in my head. And when Dabo started doing that, it just popped into my mind. Just bloop, Tyler from Spartanburg.
That's like I said, that was top-notch humor right there. That's good stuff. You mentioned my background in hosting those shows.
Yeah.
So, and for those that don't know, I know you're bringing in the young, fresh kids every day in your audience. It's not just the Medicare demographic.
We get younger by the day.
Wave. Younger by the day. Right now, there's a 22-year-old that has no idea that I actually did play-by-play for South Carolina and hosted radio and TV coaches shows. Everybody from Spurrier, I got a chance to fill in on a few of those. Dave Odom, Darren Horn, Ray Tanner. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody in there. Anyway, I can tell you, for the most part, it's usually terrible radio. If we're being brutally honest, it's not good radio. Okay, the coaches get paid to do the shows, so they got to be there. You're not breaking any news. You're not, you might have an injury update, but it's just not great radio, and it's not meant to be great radio, honestly. So when you have an exchange like that, and I had very few, because for those that don't know, there's always a call screener. And if the call screener senses it's somebody that's going to be overly negative, usually they're instructed to not take the call. And then if somebody starts going on and on about something being overly critical or personal, well, then they get hung up on and they get cut off. This guy, Tyler from Spartanburg, I mean, I got to give him credit. Not only did he pass the screener, he just starts going off on a 5-minute diatribe about Dabo's salary. I mean, you don't ordinarily make it past the gatekeepers with that kind of stuff. You just don't. Look, I thought it was great radio.
Oh, yeah.
Because two things. See, I'm not taking sides here. I think Tyler from Spartanburg represents some frustrated Clemson fans that might be a little bit fearful that they're going to lose their spot on the stage with elite college football programs. If you lose Saturday, that's 5 losses. Dabo went 5 years losing 5 games. Think about that. 5-season stretch where they only lost 5 games. And so a lot of fans feel that way. You know what? A lot of coaches, in fact, almost everyone I've ever been around, feel the way Dabo did. Who the hell are you to sit here and question what I'm doing, my salary, and oh, by the way, where was Clemson before I got here is really what's being said through that whole transcript if you read between the lines. And I don't think you have to read very deeply in between them. I think Dabo spelled it out pretty good. I thought it was great. I wish more coaches shows had more exchanges like that. Now, I can promise you, Tyler won't be making another cameo on the Dabo Sweeney Collins show. But I thought I have no problem with what Dabo said. I know a lot of people are already piling on him for doing it. That's fine. But look, if a caller goes after you on a personal level, you have every right to come back at him. And you have every right to kind of remind people, hey, this just in, I've done things at this university that nobody else has. So you better be careful what you ask for. I actually thought it was a good moment on a rare good moment on a coach's call-in show.
Yeah.
Mike Morgan on the move with us here tonight on Sports Talk. And Mike, one final thought on that. And I think where he went way overboard, aside from the salary comments and why are we paying you $11 million to go 4-4, when you start attacking anybody, but when you start attacking somebody who is publicly open about his faith, as Dabo is, I think that's probably where he crossed the line. That was probably the straw that broke the camel's back and sort of set Dabo on. Yeah, he talked about his faith and referenced Proverbs where the pride cometh before the fall and all that kind of stuff. So, I think
I did not
Tyler
know he
pushed
went
the
that
envelope.
deep.
Well,
He pushed the envelope.
and to keep up with the guy in the upstate, Beamer cited Proverbs in his press conference on Tuesday. Now, I don't know exactly what's in Proverbs. I guess I need to start reading Proverbs, but must be a lot of popular phrases in there. Mike, what's in Proverbs? Tell me your favorite proverb. What's your favorite verse out of Proverbs, Mike?
I'm not too brushed up on my biblical verses. I know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the first 4 of the New Testament, I believe. But I can't help you past that. I can't help you past that.
All right, let's go from really good radio to what apparently was really bad television, Mike. I thought the World Series had some compelling moments. Evidently, I'm one of the few because nobody watched the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, which finished off last night with Texas winning another road game. First off, overall thoughts on the World Series as a whole, and secondly, the Rangers winning 11 straight road games during the postseason, which has never been done before and may never be done again.
The first thing I thought of, and I'll be honest, that's probably the least amount of a World Series as I've watched. And part of it was just the schedule and when I hate the fact that World Series games are going on during college football and NFL days. I realize that's the reality. That's where it falls on the calendar. But it's unfortunate because I think a lot of people that would watch it don't. Football is not going to lose out on most of those head-to-head battles for eyeballs. But what stood out to me, number one, Texas was the laughingstock of the American League for a while. They were one of the worst teams in baseball. They obviously made some moves. That they went out there like Phil's beloved Yankees with a blank checkbook and just bought every hot free agent out there. They're incapable of doing that. The other thing is Bruce Bochy now has 4 championships as a manager. I mean, put that dude in the Hall of Fame. He's got to have something. I don't know what it is, but even the 3 that he won in San Fran, those were good teams. They were never the most talented teams, but he won it in 2010, 2012, 2014. And now 9 years later, he wins it in Texas in 2023. Hats off to him. Of course, hats off to Mr. Montgomery, former Gamecock pitcher. Wasn't long ago we were seeing him in a Gamecock uniform, had a chance to call some of his games on TV. And other than that, I mean, there's not much. There's not much to say about the series as a whole. It's like two teams that we don't really focus on all year long, and they had to whittle it out. I do think, and I hope that Rob Manfred, when he's not busy canceling All-Star games in Atlanta over bogus reasons, that maybe he actually fixes the postseason and actually does, because that's not the way it should be, where every 100-win baseball team continually loses in the first round. That ought to tell you maybe something needs to be adjusted.
And I agree. And I think we've had this discussion with you before. And I liked your idea about giving home field, the entire home field in the early rounds, to the teams with the best record. I think that would maybe level the playing field. But if you ended up doing that and you had a Texas Rangers team that finished second in its division and had to go on the road, it obviously didn't bother them. They didn't lose on the road this postseason.
That's right.
In your experience, home field advantage can be somewhat overrated in a lot of different sports. But, I mean, what makes a good road baseball team? Why were the Rangers so good away from home this year?
There's to me, there's not a specific answer to that other than to say, I think home field advantage in baseball, if you're going up against a hot team, I don't think it's as nearly as big as it is in football and basketball. The team that's hot playing the best baseball is going to win more often than not, no matter where you play it. It's not nearly the same impact as having the home court in basketball and having the home field in football. It just isn't.
This will not be agreed to by anybody, but the television ratings, as Bergie pointed out, were awful. Monday night, going up against Monday Night Football, they were practically doubled. I think Monday Night Football had like 15 million, and the baseball had 7 point something. Why not go back to some afternoon World Series games? With the way society is now, so many people are at home working or just home, period. You wouldn't be opposed by other major events in the afternoon. Maybe make it late afternoon and you carry over into the early evening, maybe even touching prime time, and go back to your roots as a sport, and see if that would generate more eyeballs on television.
Well, as someone who loves day baseball, I'd certainly cherish that. And I love the early rounds where you do have some day baseball. I think that's one of the perks of the expanded playoffs, what have you. But no, I don't think the TV execs, when they type in the calculus of daytime ratings versus nighttime ratings, I just don't see that. I think that toothpaste is out of the tube. I don't think we're ever going back, Phil. I don't think we're ever going back to having daytime baseball. You remember there used to be NBA Finals games that were during the day.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing. No, I don't think we're ever going back to that. They have a formula. They're much smarter than we are on what works for them in terms of the most eyeballs, and for them, they are insistent that it's always going to be at night.
All right, real quick, touch on some SEC big games this weekend because you've got Alabama, undefeated in the West, hosting LSU, 1 loss in the West. You got Ole Miss, 1 loss in the West, and they are hosting A&M. And then in the East, you got Georgia, undefeated, with a 1-loss Missouri coming in. So you got some very significant games. You think the home teams are going to hold service here in all these games, or can a road team steal one?
I think a road team could steal a couple. I think Georgia will be fine against Missouri. I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
Is A&M capable of winning on the road at Ole Miss? They actually are. I mean, Ole Miss is a quality football team, and they've got the right parts on offense. I don't know if that's a dominating defense, and I don't know if A&M's defensive line can't pose some problems for Jackson Dart and company. But the biggest one to kind of picking is LSU Bama, because at the beginning of the year, I picked LSU. I picked LSU to win the West. I picked LSU to beat Alabama. What I didn't realize, what I was wrong about, is that they don't have a dominating defense. So they have the athletes that are capable of doing it. But at this point, you are what you are. They haven't been a dominating defense all year long. They can win a shootout. So they have enough offensive punch. They could certainly spring a mild upset. That wouldn't shock me at all. But it's awfully hard to pick against Alabama the way they're playing right now under Nick Saban at home, with that defense playing as salty as ever. I think it has a chance to be a great game, but I would give Alabama the edge.
All right, my friend. As always, we appreciate it. Have yourself a terrific weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Mike.
Always enjoy it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike Morgan with us here. Morgan on the Move here on Sports Talk. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the recruiting report tonight, shall we? And our recruiting report is brought to you by our good friends over at Seawells. Seawells closed today because of a function, but they're open tomorrow, Pat. And the gravy will be a-flowing because it's a roast beef Friday.
That's right, Phil. Roast Beef Friday over at Seawells. And along with that carved roasted sirloin of beef, you can also get Southern fried chicken and fried flounder. And then don't forget all your local farm fresh veggies, salad bar, and dessert.
And for the very best in the catering business, that, of course, would be the good folks at Seawell. So just check out their menu. Their menu is located on their website, which is seawellscatering.sc.com, or you can call them up and talk to a real live person. No AI over at Seawells. Nothing artificial. No artificial ingredients. No artificial intelligence. Just real intelligence. 803-771-7385 is your number. So last night we kind of squeezed it in. We were late. I'll go over some things, add some new things. But again, yesterday, Clemson got the commitment from offensive tackle Easton Ware, 6'5", 280, out of Lynchburg, Virginia. He is the Tigers' third commitment for the 2025 class. His teammate, running back Gideon Davidson, also a Clemson commitment. The other is the quarterback, Blake Herbert. Ware had a top 10 of Clemson, Auburn, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Wake Forest, Baylor, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Michigan, and Duke. He camped at Clemson last summer, and, of course, the relationship continued to build from there. Hopes of USC of pulling receiver Braylon Staley from Tennessee, away from Tennessee, seem to be fading at this point. His dad, Brian Staley, telling us the Strom Thurmond standout remains firmly committed to the Vols, and he was offered by them in late June. Nothing from the Gamecocks or Clemson at that point. The Gamecocks finally offered in October, and Brian Staley said they hadn't heard lately from Josh Stepp at USC, the recruiter, the receivers coach. A few texts wishing him good luck for the rest of the season. He did express a couple of times they have 4 games left, and they want him to come in for a visit, but they haven't really discussed anything. Staley visited Tennessee a couple of weeks ago for the A&M game, and the Vols continue to show strong love for his son, he said. He said they're just ready for him to get there. They've been talking about scheme-wise where they can use him, and they really feel good about him. So, and the fact that South Carolina was kind of late in this thing has really been a factor here down the stretch. So, not totally over, but not looking promising for the Gamecocks. Defensive tackle Jerome Simmons of Bamberg Earhart and Highland Junior College in Kansas will visit USC for the Clemson game. He's going to Kansas State on the 11th, an official visit to Georgia on the 8th. USC Clemson in the top 8 with tight end Logan Brooking of Savannah. The others are North Carolina, Penn State, Miami, Stanford, Michigan, and Florida. USC in the top 13 with wide receiver Amari Williams, 6'5", 210 of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. He's in the 25 class. 25 defensive ends Zahir Mathis of Philadelphia has USC in his top 5. 25 offensive tackle Carter Lowe of Toledo, who was offered by Clemson, does not have the Tigers in his top 5. 25 offensive tackle David Sanders of Charlotte plans to visit USC Saturday, according to Steve Wiltfong of 24/7 Sports. Going to go to either Florida State or Ohio State the next weekend, then to Tennessee, then to Michigan the end of the month. He was at Clemson earlier in the year. 2025 defensive tackle Amari Adams of South Florence will visit Alabama Saturday. USC target running back Daniel Hill of Mississippi plans to be at Alabama on Saturday. USC got a baseball commitment from right-hander Brendan Sweeney, 6'6", 200 of Blinn Junior College.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here is tonight's forecast. Another chilly evening, mostly clear skies, a low of 31. Now, tomorrow, we start to see temperatures rise, mostly sunny skies, high of 67. And for the weekend, we're warmer with high temperatures in the low to mid 70s, having mostly sunny skies for Saturday, mix of sun and clouds for Sunday. And don't forget, you turn back the clock Saturday night. I'm Kevin Cohen with your On Point local weather.
This is Ian with AccuClean. With the holiday season and gatherings with friends and family quickly approaching, now is the perfect time to get your carpets, rugs, and upholstery cleaned. AccuClean is a veteran-owned and local carpet cleaning company located in the Midlands for over 20 years. Call AccuClean today at 803-957-1202 to make sure your carpets are refreshed this holiday season. Once again, that's AccuClean at 803-957-1202. We hope to see you soon.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting President Biden says that 74 more U.S. citizens have left the Gaza Strip. He announced the development as he dispatched his top diplomat to the Mideast for talks with Israeli and Jordanian officials as the nearly 4-week-old Israel-Hamas war rages on with no end in sight. Biden said those who evacuated were dual citizens. The House has approved a nearly $14.5 billion in military aid package for Israel, but without humanitarian assistance for Gaza. President Biden announced he would veto the legislation. House Speaker Mike Johnson's approach requires the emergency aid be offset with spending cuts at the IRS to go after tax dodgers. Biden instead wants nearly $106 billion for Israel, Ukraine, Gaza, U.S. border security, and other needs. This is SRN News.
Let's see. You don't normally call a plumber until you need a plumber. Well, if you need one today or if you need one tomorrow, I want you to remember Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Listen, I might not know all the tricks to turning a wrench, but I do know how a plumbing company should work and how to treat people. My dad was a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber, and so were 3 of my uncles. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning does it right. They are the epitome of customer service. They're locally owned and operated, and Josh and his team, well, they put customer service as the top priority for Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. I've never known a business owner more intent on making it a great experience for people. And let's face it, when you have a plumbing crisis, well, that could be traumatic. They specialize in service and replacement issues for your home or for your business. They've been to my home and fixed 3 different plumbing issues I had in the house. If you need them, they're there to help. Online at franklinplumbing.sc.com or call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning 799-2222. That's 799-2222. And tell them Kev sent you from The Point.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Have you fallen behind on your taxes and might be facing IRS penalties? Have wage garnishments, levies, or liens? Have unfiled tax returns? You want someone local and qualified. Don't fall for those national spots. Meet with me, Teresa, at Capital City Professional Services, and let me help you through your tax maze. I can help with all your tax resolution issues. There are options to get you back on track. Call Capital City Professional Services, 400-8683. That's 400-8683.
Hey, honey, I know you're taking some meds for cholesterol. I was reading that if you're on these medicines, you should also be taking some CoQ10.
Actually, our pharmacist mentioned that to me already. He called me the other day, and we went through each of our medications together.
Really? He called you?
Yeah, he asked if I was having any side effects, recommended supplements that could help me, and let me know the risk of mixing certain drugs.
Wow. I'm happy to know that True Pharmacy is thinking about us.
True Pharmacy, 1628 Charles Highway, 3217 Divine Street, or visit truerxsc.com.
Hey, it's Jay with the Cigar Militia, Columbia's premium cigar store. Have you noticed the change in weather? Some people call it fall. We call it cigar smoking season. Or better yet, it's football weather. Come in and check out our humidor and do what I do and get your go-to stick or try something new. We've got an awesome staff willing to walk you through and help you find your new favorite. And besides, you're going to need some celebration cigars for when your favorite team wins the big game. The Cigar Militia, 1410 Colonial Life Boulevard.
just a moment, Will and the Thrill will join us. Will Merritt, former Clemson Tiger, and Carl Hill, former USC Gamecock, get their thoughts on what happened last weekend. I'm sure they both have some choice words for their respective programs, and then we'll look ahead with them to the upcoming games this weekend. South Carolina against Jacksonville State. Well, I will guarantee Carl Hill that the Gamecocks will come off the field as a winner in that one, right? That's what I call low-hanging fruit.
Very low.
Yeah, very low-hanging fruit. And then Clemson Notre Dame, where it could be it could go either way. That Clemson Notre Dame game. These additional injuries up at Clemson not helping the Tigers at all. We'll get Will's take on that in just a moment. We're waiting to get Carl on the line, so we'll have the two of them with us here momentarily. Then after we wrap it up with these guys, we can take in a few more of your phone calls. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. I'll mention here, too, that if you're thinking about getting away for a beach vacation sometime this fall, and the weather's going to heat back up a little bit this weekend, beautiful time to get down to the beach. We suggest you give Jimmy Smith a call at James Smith Real Estate. That phone number is 843-237-4246. Online, you can read more about them at pauliesvacationrentals.com. In fact, I'm thinking about, to pay Carl and Will for their dedication and service to Sports Talk, Chris. I'm thinking about whichever one's team wins the football game on Saturday, the other one will have to pay for a weekend vacation to Myrtle Beach. We're not doing it, but I'm thinking the other one of those two would pay for the other one to go to the beach and have a fabulous weekend on them. And we'll let Jimmy set it up for him. So, again, that number for James Smith Real Estate, 843-237-4246, online at pauliesvacationrentals.com. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll now. We got Will Merritt, the former Tiger, Carl Hill, the former Gamecock, with us now here on Sports Talk. Gentlemen, welcome. Both of you have plenty to cry in your soup about from last weekend. Carl, we'll start with you. What'd you think of the Gamecocks at Texas A&M? What'd you take away?
For the last couple of weeks, Phil, and thanks for having me on, I've been talking about trying to find definable results. And for the I saw that well enough to win a football game. I saw them tackle consistently throughout the first half and the second half. They were in position to make every play. We had a couple plays, 2 running plays that the linebacker got blocked. They get a crisscross route with receivers. That route kills us. That route, outside of those plays, the defense played well enough to win. They never played that much of a consistent game throughout the year, so I was pretty happy with that. On offense, we just got to learn how to win. I just don't understand when you're going into the second half with less than 2 minutes, you don't figure out a way of keeping the ball. When you're down 14 in the fourth quarter, you're still running the ball on first down. I don't quite understand what we're doing offensively. I just know it's not working.
Will, Tigers took it on the chin at NC State. Your takeaway from the Tigers last weekend?
Well, I thought it was embarrassing, to be honest with you. I'm not quite as optimistic as my counterpart there. To say that a loss is a loss. I don't care. I don't look at a loss as taking away anything good. You were supposed to win the game and you didn't. And the reason we didn't is we got pushed around. And the bottom line is, Phil, you watched the game. They did whatever they wanted to. And that's just not who we want to be as a program. So to me, I thought it was very embarrassing. Now, there's a lot of things that you can sit there and go, woulda, shoulda, coulda. But at the end of the day, you lost the ball game. And, you were supposed to be the better team, and we weren't. And that puts you back in the hole again. So, I was disappointed in a couple of areas. I thought that our defensive line got pushed around. I thought our linebackers were blocked on the edges a whole lot. Where, and Carl knows this term very, very well, when you read clear and cloudy. So if it's cloudy in the middle, you go to the clear spot. That's where the running back's going.
Uh-huh.
If it's cloudy, you got defensive linemen in there. I thought we were just bundled up in between the tackles. We were just gummed up, and they were able to bounce it and go and do whatever they wanted to. And I thought it was a very embarrassing performance, to be honest with you.
Mm. And then Tyler calls.
I knew that was coming.
Mm.
I knew. I've only done 3 other radio shows this week.
Yeah.
And that's the very first question they asked. So I appreciate you letting that to be the second question you asked me.
Yeah, I want you to get warmed up.
Well, yeah, you want to get my engine revved up a little bit. So I mean, I got 2 ways to look at this. I think they let him go on way too long. I think he once you get personal, I think that gets a little bit overwhelming. And I think that sometimes, as a Clemson fan, and obviously you know that I have known Dabo for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I know he loves this game more than you could ever possibly imagine. And so when he gets challenged, it ticks him off, just like if they were to challenge you about something. And so I think that it just kind of spiraled out of control a little bit. But at the same time, I'm not sure it's spiraled to a point that it's not going to be a good thing. I still think it can be a very positive thing. And I'm trying to take a very objective approach to it and go, man, you know what? If somebody were to call me out on my faith, or if they were to call you out on Judaism, do you not think you would be a little ticked off?
Yeah, I think there's a line you don't cross. I think there's a line you don't cross as a caller. Absolutely.
Right. And so, you're not going to call me out of my Christian faith. And I know that as a believer in Jesus, I'm supposed to just take the high road. But sometimes, as just human men, we don't take the high road.
Mm-hmm.
And I think both parties probably would do it all over again if they could. But at the same time, man, who knows if it's going to rally the team and make them play harder at high noon on Saturday. And they have to play good because they got a lot to play for.
Yes, they do. I mean, they got to win some games to make a bowl. Carl, Gamecocks have got to win out in November. Now, the difference between, of course, they've only played 3 home games, which is kind of mind-boggling. But on the flip side, you get 4 at home to finish off the season. But you put yourself in a hole. But this team plays a heck of a lot better at Williams-Brice than they do on the road, especially Spencer Rattler, who's only had 11 incomplete passes in his 3 games at home. So can the Gamecocks just rely on their offense to light it up, especially they're getting a little bit healthier, especially if they can get Juice Wells back. Can you expect them to light it up over the next 4 games?
No. Have you seen the last 2 games?
You just shot down everything I was building up. You just shut it down.
That is the most honest answer I have ever heard him say since we've been doing radio together.
I mean, I thought he would just jump right in on that and go, yeah.
No, I love that, man. Carl, you my best friend tonight.
But here's what I will say, though. I mean, Clemson and South Carolina right now, we're going through some very frustrating times. However, the times are different in frustration because Clemson is losing the teams they're supposed to beat. We hadn't lost to a team that we weren't supposed to lose to other than Florida. Florida is the only team that we should have beaten. Every other team, they were better than us. They had better coach. They were just better than us. So right now, we got you where we want you because we got you at home. 2 games that you can get right in with Florida, with Jackson State and Vanderbilt. You go start getting a little momentum. Kentucky's coming in right after they played Alabama, so they're gonna be like, oh Lord. And Clemson, they trying to do what we do. They trying to get to a bowl game. So we got
we're gonna get to a bowl game.
Yeah. I just here's what I want to have happen. I want you to have your Tigers have the opportunity to stop us from going to a bowl game, and if that happens, we're gonna now I'm gonna donate my money to charity, but we're gonna put some money on that one because y'all won't beat us, then you.
Ooh, now, Will, the news came out today from Larry Williams, Tiger Illustrated, that Marcus Tate has gone down with a knee injury. He's out.
That's right. Yep.
And some others are banged up, may not be able to play. How's that going to impact Clemson Saturday?
Well, I think that I don't think it has as big of an impact as it does. If you look at this, I think it all starts on the line of scrimmage, but simply because, Clemson defensive line, we're coming off a week just getting beat up, and Notre Dame is known for, obviously, Joe Alt being their just star offensive lineman and Fisher being their other. They push people around. That's what they do. So I don't think it really comes down to skilled players as much as I do. I just wonder who's going to push people around as much. And I really, this is my honest opinion, Phil. Once you get beat up one game, you got something to prove the next game. And you got to go up there and say, all right, well, it's not going to happen anymore. And so I'll be anxious to see what the line of scrimmage looks like. And obviously, we can't turn the ball over. Clemson is a team. We turned the ball over. We fumbled it 16 times this year. For God's sakes, man. In 8 games, we fumbled it 16 times. And God knows how many interceptions we've thrown. And you can't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the stats show as far as how many more yards or how many more touchdowns or whatever. If you're turning the ball over and getting everybody else more at bats every single game, that's why you're 500. It's not that you're not a bad football team. It's not that you're a great football team. It's the fact that you're just giving the other team more opportunities to score. So I just really think if we don't turn the ball over and we find a way on the line of scrimmage, that's what I'm thinking. And obviously, Notre Dame, they have talent. Obviously, what Sam Hartman can do. Nobody's going to doubt that the guy's unbelievable. He's a fantastic football player. But in Estime, their running back he's fantastic. He's 6.5 yards a carry. So, are we going to stop them? Is that what we're going to do? Can we go 3 and out? And can we get our defense off the field? If we can do that, we got a chance to be in this thing. But Notre Dame is a dang good football team. And I know they haven't beaten a lot of great teams this year, but they've beaten enough good teams to show you what they can do.
This is about as much doubt as I've heard you express about a Clemson team going into a game in maybe forever. You have some real doubt about them going in.
I do. And I'm going to tell you, the reason I have doubt is because I never know what Clemson team I'm going to get. I really don't know what Clemson team I'm going to get because, it's not just the fact that we fumbled the ball. It's the fact that we fumbled it on the 1 going in the end zone, fumbled it on the 2 going in the end zone, fumbled it on the 4 going into the end zone. Those are 14-point swings that you can't get back. You can't get those points back. And so it's not just the fumbles. It's what the fumbles represent. It represents the whole game change. And it represents not only the attitude on the field, but it also represents the attitude on the sideline. And I'm going to say it because, I think that you're going to see Maffa get more of the carries this week.
Yeah, especially if Shipley's not available.
Well, I know, and I understand, that could be the case too. But I'm just saying, I'm not saying that wouldn't have been the case had he not been on concussion protocol.
All right. Before we wrap it up, time to get the rivalry meter reading for tonight. Both of you kind of down in the dumps. I got to do something to lift you up. But I'm not going to do anything.
Hold on. I got to call Tyler in Spartanburg. He was going to do my pick for me.
All right, Carl. Rivalry meter reading going into November. The Gamecocks are 2-6. Tigers are 4 games down the road from you. What is your rivalry meter reading tonight?
I think we go in that game trying to get bowl eligible, and I don't think that if we're trying to beat them to go bowling, I don't think they can beat us. But they still are more talented than we are. So right now, it's a 50-50 right now.
Oh, 50-50. I think that's an improvement for you. Will, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I still think I think Carl's right. I think that that's accurate. I think we're more talented, and I think that we are going to right the ship. I really do believe that. So I'm actually going to move up from last week where I told you 6 to 7. I mean, I think we're a better football team, and if we take care of the football, we'll win that ball game.
But you've come down from an 11 and a 12 from earlier in the year.
It's working now.
Yeah, well, that was when I was really arrogant and cocky. So, and now I've had to eat humble pie so many weeks in a row.
Yeah,
and I'm ready to eat some like blueberry pie or some cobbler or something like that.
You haven't missed much pie in your life, I can tell. Listen, we appreciate it.
That is cold-blooded right there.
I'm sorry, man.
Come on, man.
I mean, listen, I went out.
I'm down 52 pounds.
I know. Last time I saw you, you look great. You look great. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week as we get closer to the big day. Thank you so much, Will and Carl.
I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. Safe travels.
Same to you. Thank you, Carl.
Thanks, guys.
Go, Carl.
There you go. All right. Will and the Thrill telling it like they see it here tonight on Sports Talk. Appreciate them very much. We got to run to a break. And we shall return. And you know what? I think for those of you who've been holding, we're going to reward you with some airtime here on Sports Talk. I think we'll have time to squeeze in a call or two. So 888-898-2525 is the phone number. And we've got college football going on tonight. As soon as I can find an update, here we go. Wake Forest up on Duke early, 7-0. Be back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's CORBETT. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Investing can be like a puzzle. There's so many pieces to consider, and it can be hard to know where to start. But with the right guidance, the pieces together to create a winning strategy. That's where Founders Investment Services come in. Our team of financial advisors can help you navigate the complexities of investing and create a personalized plan that fits your goals and risk tolerance. We'll work with you to identify the pieces of your puzzle and how they fit into your financial future. Call 866-739-7064 or visit foundersfcuinvestments.com to learn more about how we can help you take the first step towards reaching your financial goals. Securities offered through LPL Financial.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity. And members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives. And as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. Let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
South Carolinians, this message is for you, whether you or a loved one are about to receive Medicare or want to improve your current Medicare situation. Brian Spencer of Palmetto Medicare is the guy for you. This is Mike Morgan, and I've known Brian for over 20 years. He started Palmetto Medicare in 2005, and here's what I can tell you about Brian. He's not the best-looking guy in the world. He's not a poet. He's not a very good golfer. He can't sing at all, not even in the shower. All of this is true. But here's what else I can tell you about Brian Spencer. There's no one I would trust more with that all-important decision of who will handle your Medicare benefits. Palmetto Medicare is local, specific, and native to the Palmetto State. Any and all plans in South Carolina are available through Palmetto Medicare, and they offer a free annual Medicare and prescription review. So with that in mind, there's just one phone call to make. 803-960 803-960-9484. Let Brian Spencer do the one thing he is good at, helping people with all their Medicare needs.
All right, let's squeeze in a couple of phone calls before we wrap it up. We stay right here in Columbia. We welcome in the ABM, better known in his family as Triple T. What's up? Triple T, welcome in.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yes.
First of all, I said I'm going to call. I'm going to make one last call.
Okay.
But I'm calling in because I want to commend Tyler for having the guts to call in and challenge Dabo. Because Dabo have gotten arrogance, I'm saying is. What I'm saying is. So I don't have no problem with Tyler said. If Dabo thought it got personal, he should have cut it off. You know what I'm saying is. And I'm saying, but Dabo was wrong, I'm saying it. And I don't care what he say. I've been a Clemson fan before you've been on this earth. And some things are going on. Dabo has an incompetent coaching staff. That's his problem. Also, if I was the coach, Shifley would never see the ball again. He fumbled on the 1 yard line against Duke. He fumbled on the 1 yard line again in last game. He fumbled again his freshman year against Pittsburgh on a wheel route, a touchdown, and we would win the ACC. I'm saying is so. All that stuff to saying, hey, I commend him. What's name is a hypocrite, and I will tell him to his face. 20. You make $11 million, but you don't want the kids to get paid. You said if the kids start getting paid, you will leave. So go on and leave. I'm saying this. And the last thing I'm going to say, I have helped recruited a lot of kids to Clemson. Long as Dabo at Clemson, I would tell no kid to go to Clemson. Never again, long as he's there. And all the fans, it's done. Clemson will not win another national championship with Dabo. The days are bleak, I'm saying this. He can forget it, I'm saying this. And I know a lot of kids across this country, but long as he's there, I would never tell another kid to go to Clemson. I'm saying I don't care what he said, I'm saying this. So he can leave. I'm saying, yeah, he get $11 million a year. He don't deserve it, but he's getting it. Hey, Tommy Bowden would have done the same thing at Clemson, but he was arrogant, I'm saying this. And he didn't listen. See y'all later, Clemson Tiger. Like I said, we're going to be all right once we get rid of Dabo.
Wow. That's why I call him the ABM.
Wasn't Maffa the one that fumbled at the 1?
I thought it was Maffa, yeah. And, I mean, listen, Dabo brought you 2 national championships, 6 ACC crowns. I think he's done some good things, but we'll pick it back up tomorrow night. Sorry we couldn't get to the rest of the calls. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution.